Here's another little trick, using overlays. In December of 2010, I went to Sudan because I had a death wish. No, I had a lot. There was a big gold rush going on in Sudan, and all of a sudden they quit finding gold, and they couldn't understand why. So they'd heard about me and said, hey, we'd like you to come over, all expenses paid. We want you to tell us why we're not finding gold anymore. Okay, there's about 4 places in North Sudan where they're all concentrated at. And they have got every detector in the world, but they're digging holes with rocks. I mean, shards of rocks, okay? And I said, the reason you're not finding any gold anymore is because everybody and their brother has been here for 4 years. And I got news for you. You are out in the middle of nowhere. The closest supply is 225 miles away. Everything gets thrown on the ground. I watched a guy with a White's detector dig for 45 minutes with a shard of rock. He's got a detector. That's all he could afford. He couldn't afford a digging implement, apparently. Dig with a shard of rock, and he came up with one of those juice foil pouches. They've had heavy equipment in there. I said, the reason you're not finding gold is because you've got to move. You've got to go someplace else and find gold. Their problem is they don't know how to prospect. They found gold by accident in these places. And the word got out, and everybody else came too. Well, here's what you do to use overlays. All right, this is, even in Sudan, they have this Geological Services map. Okay, just like you saw in Arizona. A lot of you that are real familiar with computers will know that you can take a program like Photoshop and you can layer things one on top of the other, and you can make one layer transparent to a certain degree. So you could make it like a piece of clear plastic with something printed on it, and you can lay it over a map. Okay, well, what you do when you do overlays, you don't have to do it this way. You can actually go and you can get that film that you can just run through a copier. Okay, run your geographical map that shows the distribution of minerals. Okay, run that through a copier, then take it and lay it over a regular map to see where it is. Now, even here, what we found out when we were over here, they were finding gold over here, and they were finding gold right up in here. Well, what do we know about Sudan is that green schist, okay, which is a granite, is connected with gold over there. So when we made an overlay of that and we overlaid it over, well, guess what? Here's where we're at, and then we're over in here, and there's a couple little places over here that show that granite schist as well. Okay, so what do you do when they wanted to know, well, where else can we go look for gold? I said, well, okay, let's take a look at other places way up further. If you go up further northern and to the east, okay, you've got green schist up in there as well. So try up in there. But this gives you an idea. Again, we're pointing the way to the most likely hay bales that are going to have the needle in it. Okay, I want you to understand how gold is formed. Heat and pressure. First thing that happens is molten granite is shoved to the surface. There's other ways we can think that gold has been formed. I'll get into that a little bit. But for the most part, especially in the areas that we're at where most of the host rock that we're seeing is quartz, this is usually what happens. You get molten granite that's pushed to the surface during turbulent volcanic activity, fractures in the Earth's crust, things like that. The next thing that comes up is molten quartz, because molten quartz is pretty similar to glass. It's got a pretty low melting point. So you've got a big mass of granite that's sitting there, and it's cooling. Now you've got quartz that comes up, and it bumps up against it, and now it starts to cool. Now you've got two things that are cooling at different rates. I don't know if any of you, when you're younger, would put marbles in a frying pan, get them real hot, and then drop them in ice water, and they would fracture. They wouldn't break apart. They just fracture. They made some real pretty designs in them. Well, that's what happens to the quartz, because the granite is cooling at different rates of the quartz. All right, so now you got quartz with fractures in it. What happens next? Now, heavier metals, okay, the iron, the gold are pushed up and into the quartz fractures. Okay, so what you're looking for out there, if you notice at Gold Basin that the dirt, you get into some areas that the dirt is real red, okay, that's good. That's mineralization. And you have to remember something. There's an old saying, iron is the mother of gold. Where that iron comes from is it comes from the iron inside of that quartz breaking down. The quartz breaks apart, out fall the nuggets. Now we got placer gold. All right, so here you go. You've got the quartz over here. You've got the granite over here. You've got these little fractures. You got iron that gets shoved up in there, gold that gets shoved up in there, okay, pyrites and other minerals. And you get these two things that are cooling at those different rates. Now, over time and time and time and time, millions and millions of years, okay, all this stuff gets weathered down. That's how the gold gets liberated. These things are called contact zones. And you have to know how to see contact zones because the contact zones aren't that obvious anymore. And as a matter of fact, the ones that are obvious are really not too good to detect in because the gold is probably deeper. It hasn't weathered down to where the gold's at yet. This is in Sudan. Okay, if you look at this, you'll see that you've got real small, it's probably hard to see, but these little white specks of quartz. I like to see quartz that's about the size of rock salt. So you got to look careful sometimes because that tells me there's been a lot of weathering that's gone on. All this other stuff is granite. This is, see this over here? That's all granite. This is all an enormous contact zone. You have to learn to be able to read that because when you get into contact zones, you'll get into gold. Okay. First, you want to start looking in known areas, like we said. Okay. You go out on your club's claims. You get a sense of what the gold ground looks like, and you look for clues of where gold was already found. Okay? That's important because you learn from other people finding the gold. Let's look at this guy. This guy's metal detecting. Tell me some things about this picture and tell me why or why not this is a good idea what this guy's doing.
Got a swinging thing. That's a good idea.
Well, he's got a swinging thing. That's a great idea because I'm better that.
Got tennis shoes on with no steel toes.
There, that's good. But what makes this a good where to look place?
People have been working it before.
Yeah, people have been working it before. Absolutely right what Deanna says. But what about how they've worked it before? Come on, give me some more. Yeah, well, they left trash. That goes without saying. Guys, look how much tailings there are. Who the hell digs that much unless they're finding gold? Okay. Good place to work because nobody's going to spend that much time working that area with a dry washer unless they're finding something. I dry washed for 1 day. I think I threw my dry washer out. Okay. 1 day, 8 hours of shoveling. Then I had to go home and pan. And I come up with 3 little flecks that I had to put in water to make them look bigger. Just not my thing. Okay. Go back to your geological maps. What are the ground conditions where your club claims are, like we showed you before? Remember the XG? Okay. Look for that. Then go look on the map for other areas and find others that look like your club claim. Okay, what are the ground conditions where your club claims are? What other claim ground is around your club claims? Take the geological distribution in a known gold producing area and look for the same kind of areas that have not been claimed. Okay, like I said, you saw that one little patch, that one little claim over on the other side of Dolan Springs Road. Okay, obviously there's gold there, and it's right at the base of the mountain, so what's that tell you? Where'd the gold probably come from? I'd be up in them gullies, you know, like a dog sniffing out a coon. Because you know it probably came right down there, and that's the first level ground it hit, and it just sat there. And he probably found a few nuggets, started dry washing or whatever he's doing, and he found gold, so he claimed it up. Okay, what can you tell me about this? Let's say you're out in an area that nobody knows about. You've done some research, you're in an area, and you come across this. What's this tell you? Yeah, these are old workings. Okay, what this is right here? This is hand stacking. Okay, the Chinese would go in there and they dig, and when they get the boulders, because you know us, we'd like throw it on our buddy's foot. No, these guys put it very neatly. They made a little wall there. This is hand stacking. Okay, so that means again. Who does that much work if they weren't finding gold? They must have found gold. Yeah, okay. All right, so what that tells me is, oh, the gold must have shed from here, right? Well, those guys haven't been there for 100 years. So do you think some more gold might have come down in through here? Yeah. So when you get to those areas, start looking for clues. Anybody know what these are? Trumpet plants. That's right. You've seen them all over out in Gold Basin. They got a little bitty bulb on them. When they're fresh and not dried out, they're red. All right. Miners, old-time miners used to look for trumpet plants. And why did they look for it? Because it grows in the same kind of mineralization where you can find gold. Now, I'm going to tell you, just because you've seen trumpet plants doesn't mean you'll always find gold. But I can almost damn near guarantee you, if you find gold, look around, you'll see a trumpet plant. The other thing that seems to grow in that kind of mineralization is, you know the little red barrel cactus? They like that real, real high mineralized ground. So you look for that red ground because that's oxidation from the quartz that's breaking down. Okay, look at this. That's just a whole quartz reef that's just broken down. All right, might have been some gold in there. Might be worth going up that hill. Might be worth going down at the base of that hill. Start looking for things like that. Look at this. What's that? But really old tailing piles. Because this was done by a big mechanized, there is a well nearby this, okay? That's too much tailings, there's too much washing that's washed out. It tells me it's very, very old, okay? The other thing it tells me is very, very old is this. Old cans. I love guys. I met a guy out in Gold Basin one time, and he's using the whites. And I come down off the ridge, because I was up way on top of the ridge, and he was way down at the bottom. I come down, and I says, how you doing? Oh, I ain't doing so good. He says, yeah, I'm not sure there's even any gold out here. He says, I've been doing this for 2 years. I've never found any gold. And I'm thinking, I've been doing this for a lot longer than that. But I've found a lot of gold the first 2 years I was doing it, you know. And he said, yeah, he said, I got to get out of this gully. He said, I don't like it in the gullies. There's too much trash. Let me tell you something. If you're a metal detectorist or if you're somebody who's dry washing and you're running into a lot of trash, well, jump up and down and run around and scream and thank God, because I'll tell you what trash tells you. Number one, the old timers were there. Okay, they were there long enough that they left their trash there. And the only reason they were there that long is because they were finding gold. Second thing is a whole bunch of other people that are looking for gold. Modern day prospectors are just too lazy to work around the trash. So guess what? They've left the gold that's in there. So when you get into trash, just dig it. Dig it. You'll more than likely find some gold. I have a buddy, John and I are out detecting. We're almost at the base of a hill. And we're detecting along. I'm here. He's far enough away from where we're not interfering with each other. He says, I'm going to go up the hill and over the hill and see what the gully looks like on the other side. I said, okay, cool. So he starts up the hill, and he's about halfway up, and he goes, can you hear that? And he's lifting his headphones, and this detector is just screaming. I go, yeah, I hear it all the way down here. Digs it up. It's a rusty tin can. He goes, here's something for your collection. He throws a tin can down at me. I said, thanks, John. I'll put that in my backpack. So he goes up another 10 feet or so. Says, listen. I say, yeah, you got another screamer. Digs it up, another tin can. Here's another one for you. Throws it down the hill. Goes another 4 feet or so. I don't remember the exact measurements, but anyway. Listen. I said, I hear it. And he takes off walking. I said, where are you going? He goes, it's just another tin can. I said, John, why do you think there's so many tin cans on the side of that hill? You think they went up there for the view? I go, all right, geez, you're as bitchy as my wife. So he goes back down, he digs it. It's a 5-ounce quartz and gold nugget.
Did he throw that?
No. But thank you so much for asking. Okay, so look for these clues, because when you do, this is what you find. This is what I found. I found a virgin patch. Obviously, they were finding gold here, but I found this where they weren't at. There was no trash. There was no nothing. But there was this. And to this day, I cherish that dime. Okay, this is granite schist. Okay, granite schist is really good because a lot of times you'll get nuggets that get hung up in that. It's also very indicative of a contact zone. Okay, so this is an old contact zone. You can see little pieces of quartz there. Sometimes it's more obvious than others. Here's a nice contact zone. This is a quartz reef. Look at that, just exposed right out of the side. By the way, guys, this is all in the area adjacent to where you guys detect.
National Park?
No. You want to go to the national park?
No, I'm kidding.
You know, I'm sure your luck would probably be about like mine. You know,
His wife could tell.
not worth it. Not worth it. It's we have enough trouble with the government without us actually doing stuff to get in trouble. But anyway, this is a quartz reef, and it's starting to be exposed, okay, because of weathering. The dirt's starting to fall away from it. Next thing that'll happen in the next 2,000, 3,000 years is it'll all get broken down, and it'll be just a semblance of what it is now. But even so, you may find these are good areas to hunt around here. You can see where there's been quartz that's already broken down, right? I found a really nice little patch where I got 14 nuggets in a gully. I worked the side of that hill. I didn't see anything going down into the gully, okay? And I went home and I thought about it. I thought, now you know, the gold had to come off the side of that hill. There had to be, because I see all the quartz shedding down off the hill, you know, coming down the side. But I'm not finding any gold up on the side. So I'm thinking, okay, what if there was a reef that came out and it ended about right in the middle of that, and it broke down and it shed its gold down into the gully. Let's assume the gully is down in here, all right? And now you don't see that reef anymore because it's deteriorated. It's gone. It's just all broken up, like I see all this broken quartz. But what if that reef goes all the way through, because it just so happens there was a road right up here. What if that reef ran all the way through the road and came out on the other side of the road? I went on the other side of the road, and I walked no more than 20 feet off the road. And it looked the same, quartz everywhere. Okay. Walked about 20 feet off the road, got my first target. Okay. That's a lot of quartz. That is a big contact zone. Okay. Oh, that was that gully I was telling you about. That's what I found in the first gully where I found the 14 nuggets. Okay. That's what I found when I crossed the road and went to the other side. So speculation on my part, but I'm going to tell you one of the reasons why you get smarter as you find gold. Very first nugget you guys ever find, sit down with your nugget. Okay? Look at that nugget and ask it to tell you a story. Okay? I'm serious about this. Ask that nugget to tell you, where were you? How did you get here? Okay? And then look around and look. Well, let's see, I found it here. Could have shed from up there. There's a lot of quartz up there. Or maybe it's shed further up the gully. I see some quartz up there. Every time you find a piece of gold, there's a story behind that piece of gold, and you get educated. That's why the next piece of gold takes you less time, because you're a lot smarter than you were. You really didn't know anything. You were that proverbial blind hog finding an acorn. Okay, well, we want you to open your eyes, because if you'll do that, if you'll let each nugget teach you something, you'll get a lot smarter. Okay, there's just some of my gold. That's all Gold Basin gold. I rarely go anywhere other than Gold Basin because it's fast to get there, especially now that the bridge is in. So, invest the time and use some of these tools that I've given you. Internet is crucial. I've got cards up here for you guys. You can come up here and take one of my cards. If you have questions about how to use any of these tools, I'll be happy to help you and get you on the right track. But I'll tell you what, there's nothing more fun. I'm going to have Deanna, I want to show you, just so you know, I want to show you what a quartz and gold in quartz looks like so you can understand exactly how it's formed. This is one of my pride and joy, so I sort of protect it because I would hate for it to drop and break. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I got a line. Okay, so if you use your tools that I've given you and start looking for virgin areas, that's all I look for anymore. I look for virgin areas. Because otherwise, what am I going to do? I'm going to spend a whole day and I'm going to get maybe one little piece in places that have been beat to death. Okay, I may spend 3 days trying to find a virgin area. Okay, and I may not get anything the first 2 days. Okay, but that last day when I hit the virgin patch, I'll walk out of there with 1.5 ounces, 1 ounce and 3/4. So it's worth looking for virgin areas. It's also a lot more fun when it's 113 degrees in the desert to know that the hole you're digging is going to have gold at the bottom of it, not a nail.
Take
Okay,
that and
sure.
I hold it.
And boy, I've heard this before. That's what my wife said to me about my checkbook. Okay, so anyway, that's it, guys. I hope you got something out of that.